If you're new here, welcome. And to my regular fan base, welcome back. So, in this live video, we're going to continue with video number 3 of 5 of our Guardian series. You will hear, or you would have heard, from the last audio, and I'll look, hands up, I'll be the first to admit that my attitudes, hands up, is very, very bad at times. Now, I will say justifiably so, based on so much that has already been put forth as to how the local authority has. It's an injustice. It is, and it ties into the political narrative, the political agendas that is run. And it's all the money, that ties into the corruption. And with this point in mind, just going through the cold open here before we get to the voice audio of video number 3 of the Guardian series, I just wish to say that it's a game, absolutely a game of psychology when dealing with these people. You have to learn to respond and not react. And that takes a lot of work. Apologies for that. That takes a lot of work and effort and energy behind learning to do this skillfully and articulately and properly. And it's a case of it's all a game of psychology. We must learn to do things sometimes in life that go against our principles. And what I mean by this is the following. We have to deal with these people, we have to pretend that we don't have any principles. We have to throw all this out the window and think like them, speak like them, act like them, being the local authorities, in order for us to get our way and create significant leverage for ourselves by learning how to play the game really well. Now, this is not the video for this live. This can be discussed at another time and at a future date. But I will say I've been armored and equipped with a lot of knowledge today and what I can say to my audience is, whilst I've been embarking on my journey in my attempts towards becoming a YouTuber and providing free insights of knowledge, sharing with my audience my journey behind what to do and, more importantly, what not to do, so I can help protect other people and other individuals from their mistakes. Sorry, from my mistakes. We're protecting them from my mistakes when they're going on their journey, I should say, whilst dealing with authority members. And this is what the power of voice recordings will do. Somebody could absolutely exponentially learn from you. You can learn from somebody else's mistakes and also garner wisdom during the garner wisdom during their encounters, in this instance me, sorry about that again, with the local authority. So with all this said, I am very grateful that I can play a very small part behind allowing other people to become awakened and aware, educated and empowered, with hearing my story, and that can help serve them towards their own story and what they're going through relating to their battles with authority members themselves, you know. And as I always keep saying, if I can help just one person, just one, I'm a happy dude. Really, I am. I'm very proud to have got this far after over a 2-year battle. I'm even more proud of the person whom I've become, because although it's seemingly a curse on the surface and all this hell I've went through, and the authorities have put me through hell, I like to think of it, the silver lining, as I've developed capabilities in places I never knew existed. I've learned grit, as I said previously in previous lives. I've learned grit, tenacity, relentlessness, in my sincere pursuits, fighting for my son. And above all else, I've learned intestinal fortitudes behind not only relating to keeping going or to keep on going for my son, but also choosing to view and see everything that I went through as to how my mess can become somebody else's message. Really. And I'm very grateful for that somebody could learn from me. Not only wisdom with the power of voice recordings, because also, as I've put forth in previous lives, anybody can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and flap their yaps, right? And give their opinion. I mean, the Facebook world is saturated with individuals giving so much advice, but that's all it is. It's just merely advice, and it's essentially their own words without any solid, concrete, how do I say, actualities of what's occurring. You just hear one voice. And look, man, I don't see anybody else doing what I've been doing, and what I currently am in this live video, and what I will continue to do for many, many live videos to come. And that is to not only hear me speak, but additionally hear the other person talk via authority member. Because then that's real, raw, sincere, honest, the truth behind what's happening. A lot of people, they'll come up here, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, whatever, right? Obviously, I upload here on Facebook for my audience, and then where my main audience is, I upload it to my YouTube channel. And this is like a magnet, if you will, towards getting other people enticed to my YouTube channel, which is why I do it, of course. But the messaging is providing many insights. And going back to, and thank you, Nick, I see you in the comments. Much love, and thank you, sir. I appreciate your interaction there. Thank you very much for that. But staying the course here, yeah, like to have a conversation with not only one authority member, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. And then when I'm done with these recordings, man, at least 30 and beyond. Seriously. And just hearing the back and forth, the two ways. And I want to share like a two-way conversation. And I want to share this as well with my audience. Because no matter what you do They will always try to paintbrush it to spin the narrative. And you know what I've been accused of? I've been accused of being, and I'm sure this sounds familiar to many other individuals who are dealing with authority members. I've been accused of being cohesive and controlling by exposing the truth. No matter what you do, even in, or sorry, by exposing the powers that be lies, they will still find a way to desperately paintbrush you as the bad person. And one of the ones I was accused of, also I should say, one of the, in one situation that I was accused, relating to voice recordings by the authorities, I was told, oh, you must clip it and you must clip the best parts and leave out, the worst parts and all this shit. Well, as proven up to this point, and, because my lives are long. And the reason why my lives are long is because I indeed showcase the entirety of the recording. The goods, the bads, and the ugly. Whether that works for me or against me, it doesn't matter. It's the truth. If I'm banging on about and preaching about accountability, I better be accountable myself. And if I preach it, if I speak it, I am it. And that includes being accountable for my mishaps, my mistakes, and learning to grow as a human being, improving my conduct, And it's a journey. It's a journey, like conduct with the authorities. And, no matter how much they fucked me over, I shouldn't swear, but we're professional, but no matter how much they've effed me over, and believe you me, they have. It's a journey of like learning to be more, how do I say? You have to play the game. Now, I'm too real. I don't know how to be fake nor wear a mask. And I've decided upon today, actually, to play their game. But I said I'm always going to be me and real. I'll wear that mask and I'll rein stuff in with like how I feel in my heart and self for my son. I'll do that for him so that I can come across better, because they're the ones with the power. I'll give you a little side note what I learned today before jumping into the recording. Thank you, Nick. I learned by speaking to a legal firm. There's me thinking it's good that it's a civil matter. Not so fast. I was educated today. So, and this is following inconclusive evidence when I represented myself in court, which I'm very grateful to myself and happy that I've done that. Because I don't need legal power representation, because I don't lie. Liars need that. Liars need to come across in the best way. I don't care about coming across that way, dude. I care about coming across in a very raw, honest, sincere, authentic, true way, And but I was educated on the local authorities get out clause, because they know what they're doing. They know how to bend the law, and because they have power, they can do anything. And I was educated, like I keep saying, that the fact, if it was a criminal matter, me being inconclusive evidence against me, the whole case would have been abolished. It would have gone, dissipated, done. But because it's a civil matter, that's how they get away with things, to prolong when they have their agenda against you. And all these things. And if they don't like you, because they have the power, combined with their knowledge of expertise in terms of deception and manipulation and projection. The irony is they accuse me, and I'm sure they accuse other people, of these traits, these negative traits, because that's merely a projection from their part to hide and mask the tyrannical behaviors that they implement. But thanks to the device, I've actually got 2 devices because of my so many voice recordings in which I have, and for memory data purposes, this is the reasons as to why I have 2 devices. But do you know what I mean? This doesn't lie, is what I'm saying. This exposes the tyrannical behaviors of the authorities through long, drawn-out, lengthy conversations, whether it's meetings, whether it's getting to know people from different positions, whether it's, is it Kafkas? I think they're called Kafkas or something, with the court workers. I think CAF something, CAS, I don't know, who represent the courts. And, you know, whether it's that, and when I did my parenting assessment, and I have proof of that, where I asked so many questions right, what I felt was right, but because you're not liked, how many people can relate to this? I'm sure many others here can relate. If you're not liked by the authorities because of your attitude, based on what they put you through, they will just fail you because of your attitude and blame it on you. It's like the narcissistic personality disorder. Now, this is not a channel about narcissistic personality disorder. There's many. I mean, there's a plethora of channels illustrating the narcissistic personality disorder, and I know a lot about the narcissistic personality disorder. I believe firmly my mother-in-law is a covert one, narcissist. But I also think as well, many individuals in authority are, a matter of fact, narcissists themselves, right? So we might not be able to change the system, and we're not going to, but we can raise awareness through the power of voice recordings. And with each and every encounter, as I'm doing such and providing what I hope is value to other people for free, I'm noticing numbers climbing quicker and quicker with each and every video. At the time of check-in last, we are 1.41k subscribers, so half the way to 1,500, over half the way to 1,500. You know, and it's my hope that we can get to 2k in the next perhaps 3 weeks to a month, because nobody's doing it like I am, and I'm very proud to be a pioneer of doing this the way I am. You know, I really truly am. And I also think that my story isn't a waste. All of the meetings, all of the sacrifice, all of the sleepless nights, so much hurt, so many meanings of people grinding you down, and you just got to take it and take it and take it. Because as soon as you explode, that's their justification behind saying they got you. Ha ha, I got you. And it takes a lot of inner work and discipline to keep your cool in spite of the worst odds. I myself am a Christian. I believe in God. I pray a lot to find inner peace. Gym as well helps exponentially, you know, so much in relation to keeping it together for the most part. Lights, you see a moon behind me, lit up, you know. I'm into lights. I'm into many things of self-care. Epsom bath salts is another. So there's some positive insights relating to mental, emotional, and psychological health, and spiritual health as well. That can boost our moods and give us stamina when we feel like we've been broken down. Does that make sense? I mean, I can go on, and I'm already over 20 minutes in. Um, yeah, after the introduction, after the cold open, um, you know, I then played a voice recording. So, yeah, I will leave it there for now and jump straight in to part number 3 of 5 of the Guardian series. Nick, thank you for being here, by the way, and your engagements. It's just good because it helps with the algorithm and all these things. And I'm terrible at technology. I'm not good at these things at all. I am good at telling a story, but I'm rubbish at all the tech stuff. I give that to my virtual assistant. But I do know comments, they help engage with the algorithm. Sorry, comment engagement helps with the algorithm. So I thank you for that. Thank you, Nick. Anyway, with all this said, let's jump in. Part number 3. 3, 2, 1, play.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, Claire?
I'm alright, thank you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you for asking.
Good.
So in order to promote transparency and accountability, do you mind just stating your position?
I'm the Guardian.
You're the Guardian, that's good. Thank you for clarifying that. So, as my son's guardian, is there anything that you wish to put forth first? Because I have a lot to say.
No, all I will say though is I absolutely, because I know you've got a lot to talk about, have got to go by 4 o'clock.
That's fine. That's not a
So I'll
problem
just
at all.
put that out there now so that
Yes.
we can talk about the most important things first and then work backwards. That's all right.
And I really appreciate that. Thank you. Because, that's more than enough time. So, I'll dive right in. So let's start with the most important things, at least to me.
Yeah.
So to me, it makes common sense logic that we start with the video sent to you when I saw my son, Austin Murray, in Savers whilst I'm under the injunction order. I would like to get your thoughts on the video sent to you.
Okay, so my understanding from the social workers is that there's nothing to suggest that it was anything other than a chance meeting.
Okay.
In terms of the actual meeting, if that makes sense. So in that respect,
yes,
my understanding is there's no concerns by anybody or raised that it was anything more than you just bumped into each other.
And I thank you for clarifying that, and I thank, believe it or not, I actually thank the authorities for validating that as well, because it really, truly was a chance meeting, because I was doing my shopping in Savers. I had my headphones on. I got the fright of my life when Austin came up to me, ran up to me on his scooter, barged past everybody, bless him, and Dada! I was like, oh, what are you doing here, son? And you saw from the video I asked him to leave, right? You saw that, correct? So, okay, so that's that covered. My second cause for concern...
In terms of...
Sorry.
Okay, sorry, go on.
No, after you, go on.
So all I was going to say, the only bit that I did think is that talking to Austin about the injunction, it's not going to make any sense to him. So it would have been better if you just said, hello, you know, the rest of what you said was fine, but I'm not really sure that talking to Austin about the injunction, or I'm recording you because of the injunction, is helpful to Austin.
I didn't. So I said not injunction because you wouldn't understand that, but I said because of the courts, I can't see you because of what's going on. And I will always tell my son the truth. I've never lied to my son, never. And my personal belief is, she's just said that, the lady on the phone now, you shouldn't tell him. That's her way, politically speaking, of her saying, you shouldn't tell him what's going on. Because if you tell him what's going on, he will know the truth. And they want to keep the child confused, desolate. They want to keep him alienated from the father. That if the child knows the truth from younghoods, that's not the authorities' plan. They want the child to always not know, lending itself to confusion. Because they do not care, and it matters not, about the child's feelings. Not to these people. All they care about is the lies that ties into the political agendas that is run and the corruption behind it. And I have, after this Guardian series, and there's more videos to get to after this, but I have some data to put forth as a side note of the political agendas and whilst I've been embarking on the journey of the appeal process, both with legal and private firms alike, finding a tangible outcome, and a very good one at that, from a fantastic firm who will represent me, but also has given me a lot of free advice and guidance. And that's how I was able to, at the start of this video, learn about civil and criminal and why the authorities want to keep it civil. That's what I was told. Because by default, again, if it's a criminal matter, it's instant dismissal of the father's not proven guilty or inconclusive evidence. That's why it's kept civil. It's given a ton of free advice, and that's to come in future videos. But let's keep playing the recording. Say, if you go back and play the video, I didn't say I'm recording because of the injunction. That's you either...
You said to protect myself because there's an injunction.
That's you intentionally or unintentionally putting words into my mouth. I said to my son, I'm recording because you know Dad and your Nana are in courts right now, and that there's, you need to go because of this. This is what I said. Now, if you go back and play the video, then you'll see. But and did you hear her? Yeah. Also worth noting, and I did put this forth to Virginia and the interim social worker. Virginia is the head manager, team manager, and there's a meeting scheduled in with her soon as well. Hopefully this week to discuss online contact with my son before venturing to in-person contact for his 7th birthday on the 30th of June this month. As well, that you need to understand respectfully that I'm not trained to say things to my son in a delicate way. I'm asked of all these things in spite of the worst odds, when I'm merely an innocent man and I'm expected to just do this and do that and do that and do this, and I'm not even trained. So that's just something worth mindful of.
You're not, which is why I think it's important. If somebody says or does something that you think it might have been better if they didn't, I always think it's important to say to them, and not just criticise them for doing it. Because if you don't suggest somebody or raise it with somebody, how can you expect them to do or think about or to know that they perhaps shouldn't do that, if that makes sense?
But then, meanwhile, my son knows of the situation. He knows that he's been seeing his father at a contact centre. He knows, he's very smart. He is. He's a smart boy. I made sure of that. And he knows what's going on. He knows that there's a difference in his father no longer being involved in his life due to what's going on. And I feel, no matter what the authorities, no matter how you try to spin it and cut the mustard to feed into your own political narratives, my belief as my son's biological father is to not lie to him. To me, that's not a good thing. That's not the right path. So I will never lie to my son. I will always say to my son the truth, you know?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I do understand what you're saying.
I understand what you're saying. That's a political way of saying I understand. And it makes perfect sense. But then she goes on to say, I don't necessarily agree with that. but that's due to the political agendas. I think personally speaking, this is why she said, I understand what you're saying. Because that's her, I think, agreeing from a personal perspective by saying that she understands. But then by her saying she doesn't agree with it, that ties it to the professionalism in her position.
Well, just like I don't necessarily agree with you because I'm not trained to A, say things, B, I'm never going to lie to my son. So let's respectfully disagree.
I don't think it's about lying.
Okay.
I think it's about what you talk about, where you talk about it,
and
if that makes sense.
Well, on the surface it makes sense, but if you scratch at the surface, you just said it yourself at the start of our conversation, it was unintentional, correct? Maybe not. Maybe not in those exact words, but it was an accident. So
yeah, nobody's the meeting and saving,
right.
Bumping into them.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
As far as what the local authority has said to me,
yeah,
and as my understanding, nobody has suggested that meeting was anything other than you live in a similar area and you happened to be in the same shop at the same time, and Austin came over and spoke to you.
Yes.
Which is
yes.
Understandable, natural, normal. So in terms of that meeting,
yes,
nobody's criticised. Nobody has said anything in criticism of you being in that shop.
Yeah, so a couple of things there. Number one, ask yourself if that really was an abused child. Why would he want to come up to his dad in the first place? Just like at contact centre, why would he want to not only see his father, but also be demonstrating such joyous and love and playfulness with his father if that was an abused child? That's number one. Number two is, again, I'm untrained, and as you point out, and you agree with me on this topic, it was by chance, correct? So what does that mean? Well, that means I don't have time to prepare myself. I was just going with in the moment. My number one cause for concern was just to take a video to protect myself. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah. So in terms of the first point, and I'm not saying whether it happened or didn't happen.
All right. Okay.
In terms of the way children respond to abusive acts, and I'm not saying it did happen.
Okay. Yeah.
But they can respond in a whole heap of different ways, including children who it is known have been subject to really bad abuse, still wanting a relationship and still seeking out a relationship with that person. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying that you have done anything like that.
Okay, so you're speaking in general terms, correct?
I'm speaking in general terms, yeah. Because
okay.
you said any child that had happened to wouldn't be excited to see them.
Yeah.
In general terms, that isn't necessarily true. However, I'm also not saying it did or didn't happen. Does that make sense?
Well, it kind of does, but I mean, I can tell you what I believe to be factual based off of my own experience after growing up in the care system and being around so many other children in children's homes. I understand child psychology very, very well, number one. Number two, I myself was abused as a child, and I can tell you with confidence that an abused child, I'll use myself as an example, I didn't want to see anybody being, I was trying to get away from people abusing me, foster brothers, sisters. I'll be flinching. Does that make sense? Those are typical traits of behaviour to a child being abused. They will be flinching, they will want nothing to do with a person, the abuser. Does that make sense? They'll be scared.
Yes, and it can be like that.
Oh, okay.
It isn't always like that, and that isn't to take away any of your experiences. And you are right. That type of response can also happen.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So now, has the social worker, in order to promote transparency and accountability, has she let you know what we spoke of yesterday?
I haven't spoken to I spoke to the social worker the day before yesterday.
I see.
So if you spoke about anything yesterday, I haven't heard anything in respect of that.
Have you looked at the screenshots I shared with you?
Yes, I have.
And may I ask your thoughts on that?
On the ones to do with the social worker?
Correct. The screenshots. Social worker, yes.
I did look at them and I can't remember exactly what they said. I do apologise.
No, that's fine. Allow me to give you a...
Do you want me to have a...
It's okay, I'll do that for you, just to save time. It's fine. So this is what I said to the social worker yesterday. By the way, side note, a video has been submitted to... Before I get to this, my apologies to sidetrack. A video has been submitted to my son's social worker from yesterday. And just to clarify, have you received the video? I was in a blue hoodie talking to my son.
Is that a question to me or what?
Yeah, it was a question to you. I was wearing a blue...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing that one. When was that? Was that from you?
It was from... So I sent this to the social worker. You know, like every Monday we're supposed to do a video. I'm supposed to do a video to my son, correct? So let me just play this on my laptop and then you'll hear it. One second. Oh, give me a moment, Claire. Let me just turn down...
No, you're fine.
Apple Music. And let me... Give me a moment. Sorry for this. Apologies.
No, don't worry.
Won't be a second. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hello, Austin. It's your dad's here. Just want to say that I really miss you a lot. I miss you so much. I know that deep down, you know that I've always found a way for you and a way for you. I know you know this. And I want you to know that I love you with all my heart and my soul. And I want you to know that Dada is very proud of you. Because I went for a parents' evening to your school, St. Gregory's, and I spoke to Mr. Ross and he showed me your progression. And it's so high now with the progress you've made with your writing, your English, phonics, your maths. You're doing really well. And I want to say that I'm very, very proud of you. And that I love you. And I will always love you. And I will always fight for you. And I will never give up on you. Ever. So did you hear that, Claire?
Yeah.
That's the video I sent to the social worker yesterday.
Okay.
May I ask for your thoughts?
Now wait until you hear what she says. Apparently, there's a problem with a parent saying that they love their child too much in excess. You can't make this stuff up. Just like you can't make the stuff up where a beard scratches your son's face. Case takes a whole year to close nearly. You know what I think? I think they say they don't want you to tell the son or daughter, whoever you are watching this, in my case it's my son, that they don't want you to tell the child or children that you love them a lot, because if you do, you make them feel. And when you make them feel, they remember you. And when they remember you, they have their voice. And when they have their voice, they give the authorities nothing but aggravation towards wanting to see their biological parent. Because they want to do what's in the best interest for the child, right? The local authority. But if a parent doesn't say they love their children or child, chances are going to go down a lot. or that they're thinking of their child, chances are going to go down a lot relating to the child or children wanting to see their parents at like much lower level. There's levels to this, right? And my belief, I'm not saying I'm factually correct here, but my belief is that it's for this reason. But let me play this. You can't make this stuff up.
I thought there were some really lovely bits in it, like when you talked about school.
Okay.
You said how proud you were of him and how much progress he'd made. I think that maybe there was quite a lot of, before you got to that bit, quite a lot of you saying the same thing about you love him and you really, really miss him. And you said that couple of
Hang on, let me just take a minute to compose myself here. On what fucking planet? Excuse me, my swearing here. I'm a bit angry listening or re-listening to this message, right? But on what fucking planet is it an issue to say that you love your child? Like, on God's green earth, what is the fucking issue behind you saying to your child or children that you love them?
times, and it might be better if in future messages you said, say it, but maybe didn't say it as many times, because the difficulty might be he might have switched off thinking you're saying the same thing before you get to the really lovely bit about I've spoken to school and you've made massive progress in this. I want you to know how proud I am of you.
So let me just get this straight, because to me this is just mind-boggling, respectfully. So you're saying me loving my son is a problem?
I'm not saying you loving your son's a problem. I'm not saying you love your son is a problem.
You just said that. You said right at the start of the video where I said I love my son.
No, you said it several times.
And what's wrong with that? So that it shows the child that you really do love him.
Because the difficulty with small children is they've got very short attention spans.
Right.
And he could switch off and think, Dad is saying the same thing over and over again. And then he might have switched off in terms of how much he's listening before you get to the school bit. So what I'm saying is if you said it maybe once or twice at the start,
right, okay,
then in the middle said exactly what you said, because that was really lovely, and then said I love you again at the end.
Or is that the authorities' way of trying to say, don't say you love your son so much because to deflect from their own behaviour and to, you know, because the child's in pain, right?
This is just my opinion.
Okay.
As I said to you before, haven't spoken to the social worker about it. Okay. I've just listened to it, and that's my opinion.
May I ask you a personal question? And I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Feel free to tell me to go away. Do you have children?
I don't have children, but I do have, who I'm very close to, several nephews and several nieces who I see very regularly, who are similar ages to Austin.
So, do you think that there's a problem from your nephew saying that that you love them?
No, and I'm not saying there's a problem with you saying to Austin that you love him. I'm just saying that children of that age can switch off.
Okay.
And if you say it too many times, they stop listening to what you're saying.
Well,
what I'm suggesting, and it's just a suggestion, is that you say it once, maybe twice at the start of the call.
Right.
Then you have the really lovely bit.
See, whilst it might be true to a certain degree, behind children do switching off at such a young age, perhaps that's a relatively serviceable point. My argument would be, how can you not say to your child or children that you love them amidst the chaos of parental alienation? More the better, in my opinion.
It was really lovely and it sounded really genuine. And I bet after he heard that bit, he would have had a big smile on his face.
She seems to be pointing out the education part much more so than the parents saying he loves his son part. Makes you question a lot of things.
Yeah, but
They had that bit and then ended the call.
Okay. Well,
Then saying I love you. So it's not about you not saying it, because I agree it's important you say it, but it's just about maybe not saying it as many times.
Well, thank God.
That's just my opinion.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion, and I'm going to respectfully disagree with your opinion.
Okay, that's fine.
Because number one, and I'll tell you why. Oh, sorry, that sounds rude. I'll explain why to you.
That's fine.
He's lost his mummy to COVID-19, okay?
Yes.
I wanted to give my son as much love as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point, you've seen the videos I've been submitting to you, right? I've showcased so much love, psychologically and spiritually, emotionally, ever since my son's inception, especially when he lost his mummy to COVID before he hit 4, just 3.5 he was, I believe. Now, that made me double down on the love. And when I say double down, I would tell my son every day, I love you. Every day. To me, as my own son's biological father, who knows my own son best, way above yourself, way above everybody else, okay? To me, by showcasing that I love my son and telling him that, over the years, I'll tell you, it's compounded and it stacks. It's compounded to the point where he loves hearing me say I love him. He knows it's positive reinforcement, okay? And to me, I can't tell my son that I love him enough, okay? So let's respectfully disagree there. But that is fine. And I appreciate your input. And maybe perhaps, yeah, I'd agree with you to the extent that there's perhaps a, bearing in mind it was my first video, you know, of the recent orders. So, yeah, you know, it's going to take me
But like I say,
practice.
And one bit I'm not going to disagree with you on.
Yeah.
The bit where you said you were proud of him.
Yeah.
About the amount of progress he'd made.
Yeah.
That would have meant an awful lot to him.
Yeah.
And that.
She's saying that will mean an awful lot to him. And based off her logic, that supersedes the importance of a child being made to feel that the parent loves him. Really?
I can totally 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Well, and whilst I respect your opinion, I would argue respectfully that you cannot say to your son, especially when he's lost his mummy to COVID-19, that you cannot, that there's not enough times you can say, I love you. And I've been doing that to my son for years, so I know, as my own son's biological father, he will appreciate that. I can tell you that with confidence.
Okay.
All right? And I understand your political view, and, you know, I don't know how you guys sleep at night, I really don't. But to me, right, saying you love your child is never a bad thing.
I don't disagree on that either.
Thank you for clarifying.
You don't disagree on that, but yet you say it's an issue if I say I love my child in excess due to his, quote, attention span. Got it. So she's conflicting herself there. She's what's the word I'm looking for? There's a certain word I can't think of. she's it's just conflicting, that's all, to me. Really, it is. Yeah.
Claire, I appreciate it. Shall we move on to the next part? Because we're already 21 minutes in, and you've said you've got an hour, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And I do appreciate your time. Right.
Oh, the word I was looking for is disingenuous.
Okay?
No, you're fine, you're fine.
No, thank you, Claire. I'm trying to be cordial. I really am.
I know you are. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, man. So yeah, let's go with now the with the injunction order parts. And I sent this to the social worker. So we had a chat yesterday. In order to promote transparency and accountability for myself, I don't just keep others accountable in this fake, twisted, sick, demented, everyone's out for themselves, there's no such thing as integrity. No, I keep myself accountable too. I'm rare breeds, Claire, okay? Now I'm going to keep myself accountable here. I will admit that my attitude with the authorities has been very, very off-putting, yes, and rough. And it will lead me beautifully into my next segue when I give you, as my son's guardian, what I'm about to put forth to the courts later on today with my evidence.
Okay.
And then you'll see why my attitude is how it is, okay? This being said, I am trying lately to put on a fresh attitude, okay? No matter how I've been treated, I am trying. So no one can take that away from me. So with this in mind, we did have a conversation yesterday, me and the social worker, and it went well. You know, she mentioned something about a... Let me read you the messages I sent first, and then just to save time. So this is after we had talked, okay? So this is what I said. I said, please note that I have sent you a video to your WhatsApp. Claire, this is the one I just showed you, yeah? Yeah. Speaking to Austin for you to pass my message to him, which was sent yesterday. Moreover, I would like to thank you for taking my phone call to discuss my friends wanting to meet Maria and my son. I did not know what else to do but report it before it potentially happens. I have let my friends know the severity of the situation and the potential consequences it could have on my son's father. I have done everything that I can to protect myself. This whole court proceedings is now in God's hands, but as the Lord is my witness, I am an innocent man. Have a nice day, and thank you for the parenting assessment referral. I'll do whatever it takes for my son. And now that I have had time to heal from everything being so fresh and hitting me all at once, son taken, forced to see him at contact, multiple tests from different people, me being in shock. So yes, of course I failed first time around parenting assessment because of this. I will be prepared this time. For, due to time passing and my energy being restored, I will do better this time, and I do believe I will pass. Kindest, genuine regards, Miss Interim Social Worker, ChristopherMurray, Austin Murray's father. Claire, your thoughts, please.
That's nice.
I appreciate that. Now, is there an issue? I'm going to level with you. Now, I've gone on records. I've gone on record to, you know, because my friend, she does mean well. So this is my friend and her 10-year-old son. He was 9 when they came here in September. She does mean well. She does. And her and Maria get on really well. And she's tried, believe it or not, she's tried to bridge the gap. I haven't even asked her to do this. She's tried to bridge the gap between me and Maria. The kids have met up. My son and my friend's son have met a few times and have played together and have loved each other.
That's to come in future videos as well, by the way.
So I want to say and put forth for the records, even although she does mean well, she can sometimes unwillingly put me in a situation which does, I shouldn't swear, which does make me angry. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
And so, if you go back in time, you may be aware of this, maybe you're not. But at contact, the first time when she saw them in the coffee shop, she met them and I flipped out. Well, now I've got to be careful what I say because I'm a monster, right? But when I say I flipped out, I was very angry. But I wasn't shouting, but I was very angry, you know. That's what I mean when I say I flipped out. I let her know this about the situation. I reported it to the contact service facilitators as well. That should be on records. Were you aware of that? I don't know. Or no?
Not that I recall, but I might have.
Yeah.
I haven't got all of the bits straight up in front of me, so that doesn't mean
and I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. But my question to you is, because what I'm scared of is if they meet up, then I'm going to be accused of, oh, I sent my friend there. That's what I'm concerned of. Whilst under an injunction order.
I think the bit that you did that was the correct thing.
Right.
Is that you said to the social worker your friend would like to meet them, and you asked the social worker to look into it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's you doing the appropriate thing.
Well, it is. But what if they had met up, anyways, whilst under an injunction order? That puts me in a situation, correct?
Not if they meet up as a result of the social worker arranging it.
But that's
if they had.
Yeah.
If they had contact
yes.
that the social worker had arranged,
right,
then it's the social worker that's arranging it, not you.
That's my point. Whilst I agree with what you're saying, what if the social worker hasn't arranged it? My friend's decisions is outside of my control, as is Maria's. They choose to meet up. Do I get into trouble? That's what I want to know.
So, if...
Because I'm scared. I am scared, I'll be honest.
So, if they met up...
Right.
And
okay.
Maria said that your friend had been harassing her and your friend had said,
okay.
Christopher told me to do this.
Right.
Then that would be a concern about you.
Yeah.
Because and it would be something that would be looked into. It may be looked into and it may be that it's found that actually you didn't.
Well, I actually also have voice recorded my friends, conversation-wise. Even though I know she means well, I voice recorded it for my protection. And in the voice recording, I did say, please respect me and don't go and meet them. Because it could land me into a situation.
Yeah. But if two people
right.
did something that had absolutely nothing to do with you, then you can't be held responsible for that.
And the fact that I've got a voice recording of my friends, which I hate to do, because I know she means well, but I have to protect myself. Do you understand this, Claire? I am an injunction order and I could face prison, and my son's lost his mum to COVID as it is. Yeah? Am I making sense, or am I going crazy?
No, I know what you mean.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Now, just as an extra layer of security, I have let my friends know that, you know, if you choose to meet her, I've asked you not to. I've some voice record as well, so I can submit that to you if you would like me to. But let me know, not now, but let me know if you feel the need to think about it. And if you would like me to, I can send you those recordings. Yeah? Don't give me an answer now, but think about it. Is that fair? That's fair, right? All right? But I've done everything in my power to ensure that I'm protected. And I just want to say for the records that if I say which has been voice recorded to my friends. Don't go and meet them. And if they do meet, I have no control over that. Then I'm sorry, but I've done my best, okay? Does that make sense? Am I right in thinking that?
It does make sense. You are right in thinking it.
Okay.
As long as the only instance you'd be in trouble with is if she said, no, Christopher had told me I needed to do it.
Okay.
And then the police, if they looked into it, if there was a complaint made, then found other information, other things like a message or other recordings, in which you had been saying, I need you to go and do this, or I want you to do this.
Which is why I used my head, because contrary to what you've put forth, and again, I could send you the audios. I could also send you Facebook Messenger screenshot messages instructing her to not go and see them. So, to cover myself, I won't do it unless I absolutely have to. But for the records, if something's going to be made of this where I'm going to get into trouble, I would like you to give me the opportunity and invite me to send my evidence. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. In the same way as if you were going to get into, if there was a complaint made to the police that you had breached the non-molestation order, they would then have to investigate that.
Correct. And thankfully and luckily for me, I've got screenshots instructing my friends to not go and see Maria Austin, as well as audio recordings. So again, I'll say
exactly the right thing for you to have done.
Well, I appreciate that, because it's like my friend does mean well. She's a dear friend to me, and she does mean well, and she's trying to do what the authorities should have done, given me and Maria mediation, which I've wanted for years. I've gone on record saying this for years. I've wanted mediation, but the authorities haven't granted it. I never asked her to be mediator. She's taken it upon herself to be mediated. That's the thing. She means well, but she pokes her nose in. And she can potentially lead me into situations. She does mean well. She is about love and all these things. And she is trying to bring my family back together, doing what the authorities should be doing. But nevertheless, it can create potential collateral damage, which is what I'm concerned about. And this is why I've screenshotted messages and audio recorded for my protection. And I will submit the, if you invite me to, if I need to, just to back me up, I will submit this. Can we agree on this? On that? Sorry?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. Is there anything you wish to say before I move on?
No.
All right. So we've got that out the way. So we've got the video out the way. Good. Were you aware that I was told that I could see my son on the 7th birthday? Potentially.
I think they're hoping to work towards that.
And how would that work? Would that involve me going to a contact centre again?
Probably, I would have thought.
I see. But for the record, I'll do it for my son's birthday, but I don't want to keep going to a contact centre. I feel that, being that this is a civil matter, I have earned the right to see my son in the community.
What they would do, which I imagine is one of the things Virginia talked to you about, is what would normally happen is you would kind of have a plan and you'd review it. So, for example, and if it's going well, then you would look at how you can progress it.
But how long would that take? Probably 6 months, probably a year.
Well, it depends on how it's going. It depends if there's any concern. I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
It depends how it's going. It depends on what the concerns are, if there are any concerns.
So if things go smoothly, how long in your experience, roughly? 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year? Over a year? More time taken?
If everything's going really well and there's absolutely no concerns...
Take sweet time, yeah.
Probably a minimum of 6 months after it's back to being in person.
Unsupervised or supervised?
So obviously I'm not the social worker, but if I was the social worker, you would have it supervised in the contact centre.
Yeah.
If there were no issues and it was all going well,
Okay.
The next step would be to move it out of the contact centre, but supervised.
Wow.
And then the next step would
Right.
be to reduce the level of supervision.
I see. All this when it's still a civil matter? How is this possible?
Because it comes under the Children Act, which, so any kind of the family court stuff is all dealt with it comes under the civic stuff.
Okay.
But the orders that are made in the family court, if you breach them, they can have criminal consequences. So, for example, the non-molestation order was made in the family court, but a breach of that can be a serious criminal matter.
Well, it's designed to make men break, and that's what they want. It's part of the political narrative that feeds into the cog on the wheel of the money-making machine. That's why you people are involved. You know what you do for a living is criminal yourself. You know that, and it's your political self talking. But this is why, and I'm sorry to be confrontational here, but this is why, I'm not saying you personally, but a lot of you people, you're very miserable in your personal lives. They are. Because you know what you're doing is wrong. But let me now, because think about it. Contact centre, and then after contact centre, more supervision in public, which is embarrassing. Like, how long does it take? How much more time needs to be taken when the father's yet to be proven guilty?
As I said,
it's ridiculous.
I'm not the social worker.
Of course.
And obviously each situation's different. I can only give you my experience.
I see. All right. Well, I would like to read to you my statement then. This is what I'm going.
Notice that she didn't disagree though when I mentioned and put forth in their personal life how miserable that they are. And that's karma. It might not seem like it. It might not seem that they're paying for their sins and all the lives that they're ruining and the lies that leave a trail of destruction in their wake, being the authority members. It might not seem like they're paying for it on the surface, but scratching at the surface, the karma in their personal life, they're miserable, man. And nobody is immune to karma.
It's put forth later today because the deadline is today, and I've got to do this tomorrow first thing. I'll get it on the 17th. Right? So may I read this to you?
It's your court statement, yeah?
It is.
Okay.
So my questions for the judge, and a statement in my own words from Austin Murray's biological father, Christopher Murray. Maria, number one, how is it possible that in the first original case under the London Ealing local authorities, after Maria Stankovic, my son's nan, made false allegations about me regarding abusing my son, and failed to provide evidence to the police of this, that the case takes almost a whole year to close? Moreover, how did the original case take all of this time to close after it was merely my beard that scratched my son's face after I kissed my son, Austin Murray, whilst he was under my care, after he was crying as he was missing his mummy who died from COVID-19? Yes, I accidentally scratched my son's face with my very long prickly beard. And it's worth bearing in mind that my son was 5 when this happened, so his skin was still very delicate. But it was accidental when I hugged and kissed my son, and that this happened when he was crying from losing his mummy regarding the pandemic taking her. So again, I hugged and kissed him. I don't understand how showing love to your child by hugging and kissing him, and accidentally, additionally, a man's long beard causing accidental scratching, lending itself to the face reddening, warrants the original case lasting for nearly a whole year. Point 2. During the next case, a mere 2 weeks after the original first case was closed, I have been accused of strangulation after Maria reported marks on Austin, accusing his father of inflicting them on him whilst he was under my care. After my son's neck became red when he got injured by sharp thistles in the maze. I have submitted
a video of the maze will be showcased in future lives as well for my viewers' information to provide evidence of this.
Evidence of how easy it is for a child to potentially hurt themselves to the authorities here with a video of the Hanwell Maze in Bunny Park. Yet again, Maria failed to provide evidence to the police here of marks to my son's neck, which should showcase that if I indeed did strangle my son, marks would still be there due to the force of a strangulation incident. Yes, it's true that my son's neck region area became red after a sharp thistle injured his neck. But with baby wipes and water, the said red marks disappeared after a day. This is why no evidence has been reported by the police the next day, as strangulation never happened. For if it did, once again, actual lasting marks would be still on my son's neck due to the force, surely. I have explained in my last bit of evidence being submitted to the court how I feel regarding the events that transpired regarding strangulation being introduced for Austin to say, and the facts that this case is still a civil matter. I would like to know the following. So my question is, why are these proceedings being prolonged due to alleged abuse from the father? Yet I have proven evidence of Maria inflicting actual abuse onto my child, physically and emotionally alike. I sent this to A, my son's social worker Emily, B, Virginia, the manager of Emily, and C, Claire, the guardian of my son. Additionally, how is it possible that if my son thought that I intentionally hurt him, let alone strangle him, that he would want anything to do with his father? This is why I documented all of our interactions together at contact, as not only did my son want to see his father, he was so loving and playful with his dad's. An abused child would not be showcasing this behaviour emotionally. Point 3. After I saw my son in public in McDonald's Ealing Broadway 2 weeks ago, why did Maria allow me to stay with my son following my own biological son's wishes for me to do so? Moreover, how is it possible that Maria would allow me and my son to proceed then to play tag together on Ealing Square close to Polk coffee shop if she had a problem with my son's father doing such? Also, why did Maria leave us in Cafe Nero coffee shop with such a bad man/monster if her allegations of strangulation were indeed true? Again, no evidence of the father doing such has been showcased, as it never happened. Maria left us after not wanting to come to Walpole Park to adhere to my son's, Austin Murray's, wishes to go there, when my son merely just wanted to be a boy and play in Walpole Park, Ealing with his friends. This should prove that following my last bit of court evidence sent, that this has merely been a projection on Maria's part to exclude the father from my son's life for her own financial gain, £800 carer's allowance, and emotional gain of forcing special guardianship after I originally said no to her, as I would have no say over my own biological son's important decisions.
She gets an £800 a month carer's allowance. £800 a month. Fuck the father.
Main carer status has responsibilities Maria can't possibly give to my son. relating to his physical attempts. Whilst the father is excluded from his son's upbringing. Case in point, once Maria left us in Cafe Nero by ourselves, my son begged me to take him to the park. Evidence has been submitted here by way of WhatsApp video to Claire, my son's guardian. And Austin also told me that he didn't remember when his nan took him to the park last. So I would ask, why is my son's play and physical needs being emotionally neglected, relating to his 72-year-old nan, respectfully, unable to provide this for him? As Austin becomes older, he will need his biological father in his life to help Maria here with his physical needs. As Maria becomes older, because the age gap is starting to get overwhelmingly large, with an almost 7-year-old and 72-year-old, respectfully. Point 4. When I dropped my son home to his nan, I asked Maria to come downstairs from her flat, as I would be arrested had I have gone into the building itself after she had buzzed the door open. Sure enough, when she came down, 2 police officers came outside with her. They informed me that had I gone into the building, I would have been arrested on the spot. So yet again, in my opinion, Maria panicked from her actions. She seemingly evidently called the police to cover herself from leaving my son and his father in Cafe Nero. In Cafe Nero coffee shop, Ealing Broadway, in her attempts behind getting me arrested. Luckily for me, I have submitted... Can you hear me, Claire? Oh.
Yes, I can, sorry.
Can you still hear me, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I put myself on mute because one of the neighbours is doing some banging and I wanted to be able to listen to you clearly, so that's...
But you can still hear my words even when you're on mute,
yeah,
correct?
No, I can hear you.
Right,
but
okay.
I had to unmute myself because I didn't want you to...
Okay, but in order to promote transparency and accountability, in spite of you being on mute, you can still hear me, correct?
Yes, I heard it all.
That's good, thank you. Let me continue on then. So, where were we? Point number 4, when I dropped my son home to his nan...
Maria.
Yeah, I asked Maria to come downstairs from her flat as I would be arrested had I gone into the building itself after she had buzzed the door open. Sure enough, when she came down, 2 police officers came down outside with her. They informed me that had I gone into the building, I would have been arrested on the spot. So yet again, in my opinion, Maria panicked after her actions. She seemingly, evidently, called the police to cover herself from leaving my son and his father in Cafe Nero coffee shop Ealing Broadway in her attempts behind getting me arrested. Luckily for me, I have submitted video evidence of Maria leaving us in video form to the authorities. Whew. So my question is, if I'm such a huge threat to my son, how is it possible that she left us alone together willingly? Yes, granted, she may say that she did not want to create a scene in front of Austin. Nevertheless, if I am such a threat to the point where I am endangering my child, she had the option to call the police or to alert the staff at Cafe Nero Ealing or witnesses in the coffee shop, and she never did. This shows that I was no threat, surely. Point number 5. Why was it a problem with Maria for the father to take my son 2 days later to meet my friend and her 10-year-old son, who had been staying with me since September, so that the boys could play together, after it was her who left us 2 days prior? Yes, I admit that on this day, after I saw my son once again in public at the Brewdog pub on Eden Square, and Austin was just sitting there at the coffee shop by himself, looking so lost, being with elderly people, and ignored that I went up to them. I did, and took my son to Walpole Park, following my son's wishes. I admit this. Yes, I do. Accountability for myself. I asked my son if he wanted to come to the park with his dad again, and he willingly said yes. So I listened to my instincts as my son's biological father and fulfilled my son's physical attempts, regarding lots of play in the park with my friend's son. Also, another question. How does Maria leaving us at cafe near a coffee shop warrant her getting an injunction order against me, which is packed with so many lies about me? Two that stand out to me is that I stalk Maria and Austin after waiting for them in my car. I do not even drive. Another lie is that I constantly stalk and follow them. I have bumped into them a few times in public. This is true. But I do not have time to stalk them, even if I wanted to, which I don't, as I am putting all of my energy into fighting for my son and proving my innocence in this psychological warfare relating to defending myself with no legal representation due to my own choice, so that my voice is heard. I feel that it's important for me to come across to the courts in a very real and authentic way, with my own words being put forth, and with all of the time and energy that this takes, in addition to managing my business, which has taken a huge hit whilst putting my son first in court proceedings, I truly have no time or energy to, quote, stalk them. The fact that this case is still a civil matter and the father is yet to be proven guilty, yet I'm treated as such, astounds me. Why am I guilty until proven innocent? Yes, I do have a past, which I talked extensively at great lengths about in my main court evidence. And I challenge anybody as to how you would personally feel yourselves if you were living with the psychological ramifications of madness relating to people whom you can't relate to and can't resonate/identify with as a whole. Of course I went off the rails after the system failed me, thus destroying my faith in the authorities. And yes, whilst it is true, upon moving to London, that I did not want to work with the Ealing local authorities due to losing my wife, my second son, who died in a womb at 8 months, parenting across generations from different sides of the family, going through floods after falling victim to the cold hard cell, and my house taking 5 months to be repaired, and managing my business. This is why I refused to work at LA. Moreover, I was still healing from my wife's death, who had recently passed away along with my 8-month-year-old second son due to COVID-19. And additionally, I had beaten the Surrey local authorities numerous times. I just failed to understand how this justifies Abigail the Doe making up lies about me in her sick report, saying that I murdered a minor, I was convicted of shotgun offences, and that I have schizophrenia, which has greatly prolonged this case. How does she get away with this? I don't understand. Dr. Bosey, he mentioned that I have narcissistic traits in his reports. My response to this is that I have strong opinions, and I had to learn to trust my own judgment after only being in the real world since 29 years of age. I had to find a way for my son, Austin Murray. Just because I have strong opinions and disagree with a lot of what he said does not make me a narcissist. People with this condition have no empathy, and as I have proven in my main court evidence being submitted, I have so much empathy for Maria and have even acknowledged the fact that if it were not for her, I would either A, be dead, B, be in prison, or C, I would have succumbed to all of the heavy conditions which were far worse than mine under the mental health system umbrella, when I merely just have ADHD and mild autism, respectfully. Apparently, I was coming across as I'm better than everyone else, but I was just pointing out my truth. If a person is living with heavy issues and you just have moderate ones, yes, it affected me. Absolutely it did. I'm not better than anybody. I was just speaking what I thought was correct based off my experience under the supported mental health system umbrella. However, I do agree with Dr. Bosey that he found it, quote, astonishing that a 6-year-old child could say what he had stated all by himself relating to having the brain capacity to do so. I have given my reasons behind, in my opinion, that it was introduced for my son to say this.
That's to come in future uploads. Quick note about Maria. That's my mother-in-law / my son's nan. What I meant was, I strongly dislike her, but I do love and respect her because, and I've said this in previous lives, right? Her daughter loved me. She allowed me a place to stay with her as my wife's then girlfriend's mother, right? They wanted a family and a child. I gave that to them, being my son. But that's why, and it's true. I do love and respect her. I strongly dislike her, but I do love and respect her. Because if it were not for her, I don't know where I'd be. I'd either be dead in prison or I would be in a mental hospital myself. Because all of the issues, no disrespect, when you're around madness and so many issues, I think it would have got the best of me. And so she rescued me alongside with her daughter, and that's why I love and respect her.
Which has been submitted in my last piece of evidence, so I'll leave it there on this particular topic. Dr. Coulson. Oh God, when I saw her for the grueling 7-hour all-day assessment...
Dr. Coulson's the psychologist.
I was very beaten down energetically, just like I was fatigued when seeing Emily Mitchell regarding my parenting assessment.
That's to come in future uploads as well. She was horrible. I think it's Kafkas who represents the courts. And I hope it will be able to be heard properly. I've got the recordings, although it was in my rucksack. So I'm hoping the audio will come through relatively okay. But yeah, she's to come in future uploads as a side note.
I have asked the courts if they would consider allowing me to do another parenting assessment now that an innocent man has had time to heal. However, whilst it is true that I scored poorly relating to the letter point after my son was taken from his father, and having to see him whilst being observed at Greenford Contact Centre, which took so much energy out of me, whilst also undergoing additional other tests, I was very fatigued and not in a good way. Dr. Coulson mentioned that my test score results does not necessarily affect my ability to parent as a whole, and she had also commended me for finding a way for my son.
In the test, it was all about cognitive stuff and, memory retention behind things. I'm like, talk to me about the emotions. Talk to me about raising your child from the emotional perspective. Talk about that, not stupid ass cognitive shapes and things like this. I don't understand how that's so important, much more so than the emotional development, which wasn't talked about. Go figure, that's the system for you.
And I appreciate her for putting this forth, as I have always come through for my child in ways that I myself can't fathom given my past. And I'm proud to have done this, my part, by raising him with playfulness, care and love. Was I perfect? Absolutely not. I was perfectly imperfect, but I found a way, in spite of the worst odds with my past, resulting from where I came from, being under the care system from 4 to 18, and the mental health system in later years before moderate conditions were understood. I put in brackets, the system puts everyone together. You have no idea who I have lived with and what I've endured. Very few people will understand my strength, for they have not walked in my shoes. Mental health is understood now after COVID, but it took a worldwide pandemic in order for it to be understood, which proves that you cannot feel without experience. Claire, Austin's guardian. I have recently been having long, extensive conversations with my son's guardian after she has finally decided to stop ghosting the father due to my compounded and stacked evidence against Maria and the local authority, and Abigail Day in particular, relating to the lies that she has said about me to feed into the LA's narrative, as well as also educating myself of what my rights are, being that this is still a civil matter case. I have also additionally sent Claire quite a few videos demonstrating my fatherly capabilities of me and my son, which I have also sent to Virginia. I also explained that I accidentally saw my son in Savers when I was doing my shopping, whilst under the injunction order, after being there first before Austin ran up to me on his scooter. I took video evidence of this to protect myself and I made Claire, my son's guardian, aware of the situation as soon as I possibly could. At the time of this writing, we have a phone conversation which is booked in for next week. That's obviously right now. Me and Claire laid on the phone. I told my son to leave me and go with his nan in the video and say this, and he did. This is because I'm under an injunction order again, which was granted to Maria, despite the fact that she has once again left my son and his father and Catherine Nero by ourselves. Makes complete sense. Whilst it is true that I saw my son in public a few times before the injunction/non-molestation order was granted, technically speaking, I adhered to the court order by not going to 111 Lovelace House and inside the actual school grounds themselves. Brackets. Although, yes, to be accountable myself, I did go to my son's school on a Monday morning following taking my son to the park the previous Sunday, as Austin was really worried and concerned that his nan was going to shout at him a lot. However, upon seeing my son, I fully admit that he looked happy and he said everything was fine. I immediately left and technically did not go inside the actual school grounds themselves. It should be noted that Maria has met up with my son's father multiple times, and even my friend and her own son, in our attempts to make peace with each other for Austin. I have also wanted to do mediation with Maria for years, which the authorities have failed to grant us. Question: why is it just me who is made out to be in the wrong, and that there is no consequences for Maria here? It seems to me that all people care about is putting the father in a bad light, so that the local authority can justify excluding an innocent man from his child's life that ties into their own political narrative. I am fully accountable for my own actions and do not lie, unlike the authorities. Tegger, who represents the current local authority in Abigail Dodo. I admit that I have put a lot of pressure on her lately by relentlessly calling her up. This is Tegger. To find out information about my case. Yes, whilst it's true that I have chosen to represent myself in court, as I firmly feel that the courts and judges need to hear my own words pertaining towards this family court hearing case, after an almost 2-year ordeal under the Eden local authorities and multiple years under the Surrey local authorities previously, while quite frankly, at the expense of sounding narcissistic, I feel that I have earned the right to put my own words forth, based on having to fight for my son since the day that he was born, almost 7 years now. And I have never given up on him. And I found a way for Austin, in spite of the worst odds relating to where I have come from. Although I greatly lack the legal understanding and court lingo logistics, I can counter this with a strong heart of courage for my son. Recently, Tegger confirmed that the matter is still a civil case, which tells me I'm yet to be proven guilty. Many rights of mine have been violated by the local authorities, which has been greatly minimised lately due to myself reporting to Farley's solicitors, and this merged with the fact that I have submitted many voice recordings to Tegger's answer machine to showcase how much trouble the local authority are about to be in for their unprofessional attitude and tyrannical behaviour with my legal team, Farley's solicitors, who will act very accordingly on my behalf. Now, after nearly 2 whole years, ghosted by the local authority has recently been stopped, and I'm finally being in regular communication with and treated with a small sense of humanity in terms of communication. My belief is that this is because I have threatened legal action to sue, as well as knowing what my rights are, being that this case is still a civil matter and the local authority have treated me like a criminal. It's such a shame that accountability and integrity does not seem to exist at all, and a father has to go to great lengths of mammoth proportions in order to get the bare minimum relating to regular communications from different members of authority members. I told Tegger, who represents the local authority, that I will be leaving her a lot of voice recordings of Abigail Doe's endless lies made up about the father, which I have recently which I have done recently, surrounding
That's to come in future uploads as well.
her unprofessional conduct with the father. At the time of this writing, on the 17th of April, I should say 16th of April, that was a typo. At the time of this writing on the 16th, at the time of this writing on the 16th of April 2024, I wish to put forth that I left Heather, the Medway Conference, a voice audio recording which took place last year, which has also in turn been sent to my legal team Farley solicitors. Once again, they will act very accordingly on my behalf once we are finally out of court proceedings, whenever this date may ever come. The conference itself was an absolute shambles. This is the Medway Conference, Claire, yeah?
That's to come as well in future uploads.
Just stopping you there. It's 3 minutes past.
Okay, let me be very quick. It's nearly finished. Nearly finished.
No, that's fine.
The conference itself was an absolute shambles by the authorities, and you have to hear it to believe it, as to how Abigail sounded so ridiculous with what she was putting forth behind what my son behind what my son said by himself according to her viewpoint. When I challenged her behind how a 6-year-old can say what he had said all by himself, without being prompted in any way, shape or form, she kept dancing around my questions for her. Question: why does Abigail Doe get let off scot-free regarding what she has said about the father stemming from her report relating to A, having schizophrenia, B, shotgun offences, and C, this has inevitably played its part, C, murder of a minor. This has inevitably played its part in prolonging this 2-year case as a whole under the Ely local authorities. If the courts won't do anything about this by keeping her accountable, my legal team Farley's most certainly will. Conclusion: I have been fighting for my son my entire life, ever since he was first born. I have beaten the Surrey local authorities, alongside with my wife, numerous times before her untimely passing. I failed to understand why after 6 years the authorities are still involved, especially when my beard scratched my son's face in the first case, which took nearly a whole year to close the case, and the second case is still ongoing in spite of no evidence against the father of him strangling his son. What kind of ludicrous world that we are living in, where I am guilty until proven innocent? Yes, A, I have a big past, and I have committed many sins, but my past should not be a life sentence. B, I have not been arrested in a few years, nor charged in over 10 years. My convictions are now spent. C, I challenge anyone again to live with the issue that I have lived with relating to severe mental impairment and tell me honestly that you yourself would not be affected. I did the bulk of my crimes whilst living with endless negativity and problems. Last page. Just because I have put point C across to Dr. Bosey, the psychiatrist, I'm told that I have narcissistic traits. I'm speaking of how living with so many severe issues, drug addicts, affected me. I do not think that I am better than anyone else. Again, I was just putting forth Dr. Bosey what I thought was the truth based on my own experience of living under the supported accommodation system and all of the variables of heavy issues that I had to contend with, and in turn, how it greatly lended itself towards affecting my own mental state. For the psychiatrist to say that I have nice narcissistic traits after putting this forth, well, this is the part that I strongly disagree with. However, I am in agreement with him that he found it astonishing that a 6-year-old child could say what he has said all by himself. Once again, I went deeper regarding my last court evidence being submitted of my thoughts and feelings that I was introduced for us to say these things, so I'll leave it there. I have always found a way for my son, again, Austin Murray, through impossible odds. I am yet to be proven guilty of intentionally harming my child. It's my hope that the courts will acknowledge this, and that there is some small shred of justice left in this world. A nearly 7-year-old child whom his physical needs and always calls for his father is in the court's hands. I have only ever wanted to be treated fairly by people, and not to be portrayed as a monster. It's imperative that the courts will make the local authorities find a way to come through for my son and his father due to the countless mistakes that they have made. I propose that Maria looks after Austin while I do my test for a fresh attitude. And now that I've had time to heal, I will find a way, yet another way for my child and pass this time, if I am given the opportunity to do so. Maria won't be here forever, and Austin will need his father as he becomes older. The truth is the truth. I am yet to be proven guilty, and I only ask that I'm treated fairly by the courts going forward. I am very tired of constantly fighting, but I'm proud that I never ever gave up on my son. I've only ever wanted to co-parent at best 50-50, or at the bare minimum, see my son in the community and help out with school runs. Judge, it's in yours and God's hands. Please don't take away a nearly 7-year-old child from his father who is innocent, especially after he has lost his mummy to COVID-19. Please follow your heart and treat me fairly so I can be a positive role model in my son's life. That's everything, Claire.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with me.
You're most welcome. I know we're over time. May I just very quickly get your thoughts? 1 minute.
So,
Yeah.
have they talked to you about kind of how the final hearing works?
They've touched on it.
So you obviously put your statement in, which is the one you've written.
Yeah.
Then what will happen is you will then be able to ask people questions.
Okay.
And you'll need to prepare the questions that you've got for Maria, because the judge will ask her those.
Right.
You will be able to ask everybody else questions directly.
So I'll actually be able to talk. Sorry to interrupt. I'll actually be able to speak in the hearing, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically what will happen is, a bit like all the normal hearings, it will go in the order. So the local authority first,
Yeah.
then you, and then my barrister.
Yes.
But what will happen is there will be witnesses, so people answering questions.
Okay.
So there's a witness template.
Mm-hmm.
And you will be able to ask people questions directly. You won't be able to ask Maria any questions directly.
Right.
You will need to give your questions to the judge, and the judge will ask Maria your questions.
Yeah, because I'm so intimidating and a threat, whereas I've actually submitted. Makes complete sense. Video evidence of Maria abusing my child. Makes complete sense, Claire.
So if Maria...
That's why I'm sarcastic. Yeah, sorry.
If Maria was representing herself,
Okay.
she wouldn't be allowed to ask you questions.
Oh, I see. Fair enough. So I stand corrected then. Fair enough. My apologies.
But she's got a solicitor, so it's different.
Okay.
In the same way as if you had a solicitor, your solicitor would be able to ask Maria questions.
Okay, that's duly noted and that's understood.
And then at the end of all of that,
okay,
then you have to do what they'd call submissions. Do you know what a submission is? Or do you want me to explain it?
If you don't mind, very quick.
It's basically, it's a speech. So it's like your summary of the most important things that you want the judge to know.
Well, I've got it all written out, everything I've just read out to you.
And you say that at the end, but there might be stuff that comes up during the hearing.
Yeah.
That means that either your views change slightly, or you want to respond to some things that other people have said.
See, unlike the local authority and Maria, who leave a trail of lies in their wake by constantly switching things up, I'm going to remain true to myself. My story's not going to change.
Yeah, your views might not change at all.
Right.
But you may have things to say about things that other people have said.
If people want to so am I interrogated then, pretty much, correct?
So what will happen is everybody will be give evidence, is what they call it.
Okay.
So that would be the current social worker.
Yeah.
I think Abigail is on the list.
Okay.
I will be on the list, and you're on the list, and Maria's on the list.
Okay.
Everybody asks us questions. Then after everyone's given evidence, the judge, before the judge makes his decision, there will be submissions.
Okay.
And that is basically where you summarise. So it's your chance to give your last kind of thing that you want the judge to know.
Okay.
And then he will then go off and make his decision, and then he'll come back and give a judgment.
I see. Does Abigail Dadot get held accountable for saying that I murdered a minor? I mean, surely that's very serious, correct?
So that's one of the things you can ask her about. I wouldn't refer to her as Abigail Dadot. I would refer to her as Miss Doe. You call it Abigail Dadot, people might think you're being disrespectful, and then you could get into trouble, and you might be stopped asking your questions.
So, okay, so let me make sure I've got this correct. I'm supposed to be respectful and polite when this very same person has accused me of murdering a minor. Got it. Got it. Makes complete sense.
In the same way as if she got on the witness stand and said, murderer,
Right.
and said, I'm talking to that murderer, she would be in trouble for being disrespectful to you.
Well, I think it's very sick, quite frankly.
So you can raise it and you can say, where did this information come from?
Yeah.
Because it's not in my police record.
Yeah. Oh, and Farley's will be having a word with all the local authority members. Once we're out of proceedings, that's why I'm voice recording everything. That's why the authority are all of a sudden in regular contact with the father after so much ghosting for God knows how long, because you're afraid. And my team Farley's, they're going to hold everyone accountable. They've got all my voice recordings.
And that's fine.
It is fine, thank you, Claire. And I've proven this, how far I will go to take her by being relentless on her answer machine with all the recordings I have from the Medway conference, Abigail Doe lying so many times. I did that to prove a point, to fire a virtual missile at the LA.
Okay.
Of what's to
I'm
come.
going to have to go shortly.
Oh, no.
But I don't want to cut you off.
It's okay. It's okay.
Was there anything else that you
No, it's fine.
to talk about?
Just understand that once we're out of proceedings, Farley's will be coming for everybody. I've got all my proof, okay?
Okay.
But I appreciate your time. I understand you're just doing your job, but it is ludicrous that a beer scratches your son's face, case takes nearly a year to shut, strangulation, but there's yet to be guilty. It's still a civil matter. Yeah, I can't see my son. Yeah, there's so many of these roadblocks, barriers. So Farley's will be having a word, okay? Just so you know.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, Claire.
Okay. Thanks very much. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
So, as always, if you made it until the end of the video and consumed it, God bless you. Thank you. And as I always keep saying, if I can help out just one person, just one, I'm a happy guy. I've done my job by providing free insights of what to do and what not to do. And people can learn from my mistakes and victories as well. I want to say just in closing that although I strongly disagree with much of my son's guardian with what she said at times, I wish to commend her because she did give me a lot of her time and energy and patience, and even provided a lot of advice to me as well in order to promote transparency and accountability for myself. And as you will see, or hear I should say, in the final 2 recordings in the Guardian series, we learned to forge a mutual respect for each other. Anyway, nearly 2 hours into this life, and that's why I love these voice recordings, because they showcase and illustrate the truth in its entirety. No one can accuse me of clipping this and this and that. No, it's the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And with all this said, yeah, I just want to say it's been an emotional roller coaster, and there's so many more voice recordings to come. My son's and his father's story is just beginning. I mean, this can go on for years regarding our story and us having contact again, finally working its way out to the community, him being backed by his father's sides. I mean, so much story to tell, years worth, even, I want to say. And who knows, one day it could even be my son's YouTube channel. As I say, I use Facebook as where I initially post for my audience, but then I direct them to my YouTube channel for those who have it, and any other people who want my YouTube link, DM me and I'll send it to you. But one day this could well be his YouTube channel, and he can carry on his story from mine, And, you know, who knows? He might have his own kids, his own children, and might go through his battles. So, who knows? It's got many layers to this, like an onion, you know. And there's a lot more to come, so much more data. With all this said, 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 7 seconds plus in. Much love, much respect. God bless, and peace. Thank you. Thank you for embarking on this journey with me and my son. Until the next time, and there will be a next time. Good night. And yeah, I'll be uploading soon. Much love.